we've talked about ordinary annuities. Let's talk about annuities due. So you'll notice I've kind of copied in the formula here. You might be saying this doesn't look any different. It's not yet. I wanted to go ahead and make the modifications kind of real time for you to see. So, so for an annuity due, our textbook subscripts the A sub n with a DUV for due. Hopefully that makes sense. Conceptually, it's the same principle. We're making withdrawals at the beginning of each of these periods instead of at the end. That actually ends up meaning in this instance that everything gets one fewer round of interest. Mechanically, it oddly enough doesn't really change much because this formula, we leave it as it is, except it feels really weird, even though we're technically getting less money if we pull it out at the beginning. The idea is still tack an extra 1 plus I. That actually takes care of deleting a round of interest. So don't worry about sussing it out unless it's really, really bugging you. So got a few examples of annuity due type stuff I want to take a look at. So we're putting away, as you said, we're wanting to get back $25,000 every 6 months. So in this next example, R is 25,000. We know we're going to be getting it out for 2.5 years. We know what our interest rate is, 6.2%, and we're compounding semi-annually. So again, every 6 months, those periods are going to match up and down. So we work out our value for I. 0.062 divided by 2 is going to be 0.031. Our number of payments, we've got 2.5 years, 2 payments a year. 2 times 2.5 is 5. So that's our given information. We know R, we know I, we know N. We're good to go. All right. So it usually doesn't spell out that you're doing an annuity due specifically. Again, looking for beginning of a payment period is kind of your flag for when you're doing an annuity due. So keep that in mind. It does say, if this one says annuity due, oftentimes it doesn't. It'll say at the beginning of a month or something like that. Anyway. So we have 25,000, 1 minus, do my parentheses, 1.031 to the negative fifth, divided by just I. I actually made that slip one time where I wrote 1 plus I in the bottom where I had 1.031. Yeah, that screws things up. Don't make that mistake. We do need a 1 plus I in the back, though. So that's our setup. And again, this one's pretty direct. We can pound out all the arithmetic here. If you need to do it in stages, I get it. That's cool. But the value we're going to end up getting out of this thing is $117,705.67 when it's all said and done. So yeah, nearest cent is kind of a standard. So all right. So there's a direct example. All right. The next example goes in the other direction. So if we know, how much we have to set aside, how big can we get our payments essentially? So I'm going to go ahead and erase this stuff, and then we'll take a look at the next example. So we're given our annuity due value of 30,000. We know in this instance we're wanting monthly payments. So we got tangled there. Sorry. We're going to take our annual interest rate and divide by 12. So we had a 7.2% interest rate. So 0.072 divided by 12 should be 0.006. And our N value in this case, we have 12 months in a year. We're letting this invest, as you said, we're taking payments out over the course of 5 years. 12 times 5 is in fact 60. All right. So we have 30,000 on one side. On the other, we've got big R, stuff in the parentheses, 1 minus 1.006, because that's the 1 plus I. to the negative 60, close my parentheses, short on space, up, so, yep, and down below, 0.006. I need an extra 1. That's hard to read, I apologize. This is 1.006 again, so yeah, it's this guy just right there because I can't afford to have to paint my wall if I write it out over there, so I'm sorry. So just like we've seen before, to get R by itself, we can just go ahead and crank out the arithmetic on everything that's over here, and then divide both sides of the equation by whatever number results. So when we do that, we get the twiddly equals for R of $593.31. Okay, so my decimal point is not clear. There we go, that's a little better. All right, so in terms of the formulas, they said there were a lot of them. This is why we give you that reference sheet, so you don't have to commit them all to memory. By and large, once you've identified the correct formula, if you're in the habit of determining these values for I and N, it's generally, pretty straightforward to figure out where you need to feed in particular values, unless Kate shows up and then forces us to figure out how many payments we're going to get out or something like that. Okay, so I got one last topic I want to take a look at that's kind of like an annuity due, but not quite, so bear with me for a second. All right, so one last thing I want to talk about. The formula is going to end up looking a little similar to what we saw with annuities due, but it's not a complete match. So what we're going to be talking about here is what we call a deferred annuity. So in dealing with a deferred annuity, the basic idea is you kind of set the money aside, you let it sit for a bit, and then later on at some point in the future, you start drawing out the money. So like I said, it's not quite like, a compound interest thing, but you get the idea. Interest gets to build on the investment before you start making your withdrawals. Okay, so the formula looks a little bit different here. The subscript here kind of points out this is how many payments we're expecting in. K is the number of payment periods or compounding periods that interest gets to build before we move on. So the formula again is going to look fairly similar. So we've still got the same numerator. My handwriting is bad, but 1 minus 1 plus I, quantity to the negative n. We've got the I down below. That part shouldn't be all that shocking. What's in the back looks kind of like an annuity due calculation, but not really. So 1 plus I to the negative k. So again, remember, k is the number of compounding periods that interest gets to build. Okay, so we got one last example I want to take a look at here of this in action. So somebody is wanting to put away some money so that they get $7,500 payments each quarter over the course of 20 years. Okay, so let's set that up. Pull out our given information. So R is 7,500. We say in this instance our interest rate is 8%, compounded quarterly, so 0.08 divided by 4. So I is 0.02. N, we've got 20 years worth of quarterly payments. So N is going to be 4 times 20, or 80. Now here's the important bit. It says that they defer the annuity before payments start for 10 years. It can be really tempting just to slap 10 in here for K. Remember, that doesn't work. K is not a number of years, it's a number of compounding periods, all right? So we've got to make one last calculation. It's not that much more intricate than what we're already doing. We just need quarters instead of years here. So we have 4 times 10, or 40 for K. And I've never really been sure if I'm supposed to fill in the numbers or if I just call it NK again, so I'm leaving it like that. I promise I won't take off on the test if you don't. So, anyway, so I fill in R, because we know what that is. Top side, 1 minus, bad handwriting is bad. All right, so 1 minus 1.02. Double check and make sure that I haven't messed that up. I have not. Negative 80 divided by I, which is just 0.02. here in the back, I have another 1.02 to the negative k, so negative 40. So yeah, the negative exponents, again, when you're punching these guys into your calculator, make sure you're using the negative key, not the subtraction. So we've talked about that previously. So we can just kind of attack this thing directly at this point. So if you use these parentheses, you can actually just kind of type it in directly in one big line in your calculator. And the value I end up getting that we need to set aside is $134,999.32. So, and again, so that's a pretty good, coverage when you think about, 80 payments of $7,500 is, substantially more than this. So yeah, the interest is really helping you out here. All right, so we're officially done with annuities. We'll still see calculations that look kind of like this in our final section of content, but it's not quite the same thing. So, investing is kind of done at this stage. So we'll take a look at mortgages or amortized loans in a broader sense when we take a look at section 6.5.